let's talk about Netanyahu and why he would do this. He wants to save his skin. Now, Seymour Hersh came out with this great piece today titled "Netanyahu is Finished." Seymour Hersh was the one that blew the top off of the Nord Stream pipeline, and who done it with that particular story, saying that actually it was the U.S. and Norway who helped blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. So he's come out with another piece, Netanyahu is finished. The Bibi doctrine, his belief that he could control Hamas, compromised Israeli security and has now begot a bloody war. In the piece, he says, this is an account of the past week's horrific events in Israel as seen by a veteran of Israel's national security apparatus with inside knowledge of recent happenings. Says, the most important thing I needed to understand, the Israeli insider told me, is that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is finished. He's a walking dead man. He will stay in office only until the shooting stops, maybe another month or two. He served as Prime Minister from 1996 until 1999, and then again as leader of the right-wing Likud party from 2009 to 2021, returning for a third stint in late 2022. But Bibi was always opposed to the 1993 Oslo Accords, the insider said, which initially gave the Palestinian Authority nominal control over both the West Bank and Gaza Strip. When he returned to office in 2009, the insider said Bibi chose to support Hamas as an alternative to the Palestinian Authority and gave them money and established them in Gaza. An arrangement was made with Qatar, which began sending hundreds of millions of dollars to the Hamas leadership with Israeli approval. The insider told me that Bibi was convinced that he would have more control over Hamas with the Qatari money than let them occasionally fire rockets into southern Israel and have access to jobs inside Israel than he would with the Palestinian Authority, and he took that risk. Quote, what happened this week, the insider said, was a result of the Bibi doctrine that you could create a Frankenstein and have control over it. May take a few months, but he is over. Now, this is not bombshell news that Israel created Hamas. This is something that even Ron Paul, when he was a representative from Texas, he said this in 2009. Watch this.
Hamas, if you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel because they wanted Hamas to counteract Yasser Arafat. And you say, well, yeah, that was better then and served its purpose, but we didn't want Hamas to do this. So then we as Americans say, well, we have such a good system, we're going to impose this on the world. We're going to invade Iraq and teach people how to be Democrats. We want free elections. So we encourage the Palestinians to have a free election. They do, and they elect Hamas. So we first, indirectly and directly through Israel, help establish Hamas. Then we have election. Then Hamas becomes dominant, so we have to kill them. It just doesn't make sense. During the 80s, we were allied with Osama bin Laden. And we were contending with the Soviets. It was at that time our CIA thought it was good if we radicalized the Muslim world. So we financed the madrasa schools to radicalize the Muslims in order to compete with the Soviets. There's too much blowback. There's a lot of reasons why we should oppose this resolution.
So there you have it. It's just the same old story. The United States, Israel has even China has done this at points with their Uyghur population where they support radicalization, bring in these radicals, and that'll help fight your enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, and that is what Benjamin Netanyahu was thinking. When they created Hamas, they thought that this would actually help the Palestinians fight amongst themselves because so many of the Palestinians are very, they have been for a long time, more liberal in their viewpoints, and liberal Muslims, I should say, so moderates or right. They're not the extremists that you might see in other countries, like what you would see in Saudi Arabia or even in Iran. And the leadership knew that this would divide the Palestinian people, that so many of them would not support Hamas. And that is the way it is right now. You've got the West Bank, which is not run at all by Hamas. The West Bank is run partly by the Palestinian Authority, and they definitely do not like Hamas. And then you've got Gaza, which has been under the political leadership of Hamas since 2007. So the plan was to divide and conquer, and ultimately that plan has backfired. Benjamin Netanyahu, and with the support of the United States, in Qatar, created a Frankenstein, and now this is where they're at with that. And that is just an age-old story that we've unfortunately seen unravel over and over and over again, and really just blow up in our faces every single time, from Mujahideen in Afghanistan, which later became Al Qaeda. The creation of ISIS was also one of those where we are arming moderates and ultimately they turn into ISIS. So it's a bad strategy. It's not a good strategy. Maybe one day we'll learn a lesson, probably not. At least I'm not holding my breath.